The Golden Stallion, the Man of Tomorrow, Savzu, the Rated R radio star, here for what was supposed to be a Wednesday Q&A. Second week in a row where I had to do this, where I had to release it on a Thursday. But you know I always deliver the goods sooner or later, and so here it is. I'll tell you, the reason that this is late is because I just got back from Boston, of all places. Not a terrible place on planet Earth, but, it doesn't exactly top my list. No offense to anybody that lives in Boston, of course. And, well, I am going to be in fact, tomorrow, that would be Friday. I am so let's see. What is the date? Today's the 26th, right? Today is October 26th, 2017. On October 27th, 2017, I will record a recap of a event that I was at. And I'll admit, I'm a little reticent to mention the name. Well, no, I already said where I went on Sovereign Tech Prime episode. So I went to the Monage conference, and it was a 3-day event. It ended up kind of being 4 days for me. I will be talking about it, giving a full breakdown of it in a special tomorrow that I will record. And I will definitely be recording it tomorrow because I want to get this information out there because oh boy, do I have a whole hell of a lot to say about this. Because it was a conference that was about blockchain, AI, chatbots, the future. It's all about the future. We're building the future here. And maybe you can get my sense of how I felt about all this due to my sarcastic tone. But regardless, I'll get into that tomorrow. So it's great to be home. It feels really good to be home. It feels really good to be back. But there's a couple days there where I wasn't with the lovely and hyper-intelligent Dr. Stephanie Murphy, and I can't fucking handle that. So it was really nice to have her back and to now to be back with her. And to be back home and be in the BDSM studios, Brian's Dungeon of Sex and Magic. Woo! So, all right, let's get into this week's questions for the Wednesday Q&A. Got a couple of interesting ones. And I don't know, there's two that I've wanted to get to. There's the one about tech being necromancy, and then there's another one about the hard sell on Linux and open source. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to those two. There are a couple I definitely want to get to in this one. One that I put off way longer than those two that I want to make sure I get into. And then we've got another interesting one about a potential ANCAP paradise that's being built. Well, we'll save that for a minute. But all right, like I said, let's just get into the questions. Let's make this happen. And I'm going to be having, there's going to be rapid fire content at, coming the end of October here. We're going to have I'll do my Star Wars update. I'm going to do my Star Trek update, which I have a lot of interesting things I want to share, particularly with that one. Got a ton of stuff to come out over just the very last few days of October because I like to guarantee certain things to you. So what I can anyway. All right. Now, here is, let's read this question here. This is a nice little tech question. I have long known I should get away from Gmail. I just haven't done it yet. I may be ready to finally do so. I would like to find me a provider. Find me a provider, I think is what they meant. One that can be reasonably expected to be around a long time, will offer multiple email addresses, privacy-centric, preferably inexpensive. I know you have talked about this in the past, but I can't remember what you recommended. Okay, so here's the score. So if you want something that's privacy-centric, I don't know that it allows for multiple email addresses. We've got some options that we'll cover here. Now, my go-to, kind of the main email address that I recommend, here's the setup that I recommend, but I'm going to tell you about a few others as well, okay? The main one I recommend to people isn't Gmail, isn't Microsoft's Outlook, unless Outlook is something to consider if you are really, really stuck in the Microsoft ecosystem. If you're really in the Microsoft ecosystem, admittedly, it's not exactly like Outlook.com, or if you get the premium Outlook, which I do use for varying reasons. Like the premium Outlook particularly offers a lot of really, really great features for, I think you pay 20 I got on it. I was like a beta tester. I got in on it early. And so I think I only have to pay 20 a year, but you can pay 40 a year for it. But I mean, it comes with a ton of features. It has Boomerang built into it. It has all these different extensions that you don't have to use, Outlook, the mail software, because that's, in my opinion, that's shit, even though Microsoft's trying to clean it up. I mean, that's out there, and that allows you to have aliases and all that, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's privacy-centric. I mean, we are talking about Microsoft here, which I don't generally like to do in a shining light, shall we say. So there's that. If you're tied into Microsoft's ecosystem, if you know you're going to be using Windows 10 for life or something like that, I mean, then yeah, I don't think Outlook is such a terrible option. But that's generally not what I recommend. Obviously, I don't recommend Yahoo Mail. I mean, holy fuck, they finally admitted that. Actually, apparently, there's that huge crack that happened in 2013. Now we find out, that it was like 2 billion users. Now we found out it was actually every Yahoo user that their email got cracked. Every single one of them. So fuck Yahoo. The main one that I recommend is GMX, but there's caveats with this, okay? And it's gmx.com. GMX gives you unlimited storage, just like Gmail effectively does, and just like Outlook does, like any of the big mail providers do. It has a web client. The website for GMX Mail it's gotten really flooded with ads, quite frankly, because again, it's a completely free mail service, and I mean, it's offering unlimited email storage. So how the hell are they paying that? Usually you don't pay any kind of premium fee for GMX. There might be a premium plan that I'm not aware of that you could pay for. If there is, I doubt it costs much. Anyway, I recommend GMX. Now, here's the rub. Okay, here's the thing. First off, if the online interface sucks for you, you could just plug it into Thunderbird, right? You could download Mozilla Thunderbird or whatever your favorite mail client that you happen to use. Maybe if it's on mobile, if you're using K9 Mail or something like that, you could just plug it into that. That solves the problem of, holy shit, like there's way too many ads on here. Because I don't even know necessarily that an ad blocker will really solve everything that's getting schlepped on you on GMX. Okay, now you don't want to. GMX gives you a lot of options of what your last, like what your say your email address is. I don't know, Guyver1@gmx.com. That @gmx.com can be a bunch of different things with GMX. It doesn't have to be gmx.com. Here's kind of my concern. Now, one of the reasons that years ago I started recommending GMX, first off, is because it's full featured, including offering unlimited email addresses and aliases and all that. But the main reason was that its servers were based out of Europe and not the U.S. It's not a U.S. company. It's actually a German company. And that is at certain points no longer true. They do have servers in Kansas, I think, now. And I think as long as you stay away from their gmx.us domain, I think your mail still, and I can't confirm this 100% anyway, that your mail still gets stored in Europe. Now, you could say that this is kind of pointless. Like if the NSA is coming after you, it doesn't matter where the fuck your server is, they're going to get you. Yep, that's true. But again, this is about making things private and making things just a little more expensive or whatever. Trying to create as many hard lines as you can and hard times as you can for, be it your run-of-the-mill independent hacker or nation-state actors or whatever the hell it might be, that you're concerned about. So GMX is what I recommend for that. And also GMX doesn't have any kind of like real name policy or anything remotely like that, which is also very handy. So gmx.com, that's the main one that I've recommended to people over the years. And the other nice thing is that Mailvelope, which is the PGP, email PGP encryption extension that they have for Firefox. They also have it for Chrome, of course. That works with GMX, which a few years ago, pretty much Yahoo, Google, Outlook, and GMX were the only online mail clients that browser-based clients that Mailvelope worked with. Now it works with a bunch more, I think, but that's certainly one that GMX is my general go-to, especially if you're not like maybe the most technically minded, which, I mean, I'm guessing if you're listening to this, you kind of are, but regardless, that's one of the ones that I recommend. Now, let's talk about some of the other ones here, okay? Another one is called, and this is one I used to use for years. In fact, before GMX, this is the main one that I would use, and it's called Hushmail, and it's hushmail.com is the website to use that. They have gotten better over the years, but they're not really privacy centric. The only and they actually don't offer unlimited. Last time I knew, Hushmail does not offer unlimited mail storage or anything like that. The beauty of Hushmail was that it asks for practically no information about you to make an email account. They do have a very nice app for iOS. They don't have one for Android, but just like most mail carriers, or, you know, mail services, you can easily plug them into, say, like Canine Mail or something like that. So Hushmail is an interesting one just because of how little it collects. It does do varying degrees of encryption, but it's not like it offers you PGP out of the gate, even though you can easily set up PGP encryption either with, with Thunderbird, using Enigmail, or if you have an Android phone, you can use Open Keychain in concert with Canine Mail, and then Hushmail would be very nice for you. So Hushmail is certainly one of those other options out there, even though it's nowhere near as full featured as GMX, and its privacy features aren't exactly really really top drawer. Another one that's getting a lot of press, I covered it as well when it came back, is Ladar Levison's return to the email business with LavaBit, which is at lavabit.com. Now, here's the thing. You can pay for LavaBit, and they're, the website, the web client that you use is supposed to be encrypted and all this. I signed up for this when they announced it, and it was like $15 in Bitcoin at the time, which who knows what that's worth now. Anyway, this has been, what they've done is they sent out an email a couple months, maybe a month or two ago, where they said that, okay, you can plug in your LavaBit email address into your favorite email client like Thunderbird or Outlook or something like that. If anybody says Outlook's their favorite email client, the software, not the web client. Boy, I gotta wonder where your head's at. Anyway, they said you could do that, and I did that. I plugged it into things, and I got very, there's points where I couldn't receive, couldn't send. It was very odd. Their web client, as far as I know, is still not up. I'm a little sketched out by LavaBit. My guess is what's happening, and I don't know, and I need to, and I'll say it on Patreon. I'm not going to say it on the main show until I would actually find out about this. My guess is that they didn't make as much money as they hoped to on the pre-sale, because this should have been done, I forget when I first talked about this. I feel like it had to have been a year ago. If it's going to take you a year out to release your product, holy fuck, don't go asking for money yet. I mean, well, this gets into a much bigger problem, but I really think Ladar Levinson's a hero. I'm concerned about LavaBit. I don't understand what the fuck is going on with that. So LavaBit, I'm not going to necessarily recommend that, though. If it were fully functional, it would probably be my go-to. It's definitely the one I would recommend. Another one is, and really most of the ones that I'm recommending now do not offer unlimited aliases. Really, GMX is the main one that allows for that. Or if you really, again, if you're falling into the Microsoft ecosystem, Outlook.com, does a great job of aliases as well. Multiple email addresses under one account. The other options, of course, are Proton Mail, which does not allow for. I don't believe it allows for aliases. If it does, that's a new feature on its part. The other one that in that vein, which Proton Mail is, there's concerns around its encryption and privacy, but that's one that is really trying very, very hard, to be this, encrypted email service, that does a very interesting open source encryption implementation, not exactly PGP. Then there's Tutanota.de, and that's another one where very privacy centric. I don't think you have to pay for it, though there are paid options. And to some degree, that one can work with like whatever domain name you happen to have, though I haven't really messed with that much, meaning that if I wanted to, like sovereigntech.com could become a Tutanota address where it'd be fully encrypted and all this, but with sovereigntech.com, that's not exactly something that I'm really shooting for as far as that being a venue for that. So tutanota.de is another interesting one to look at. If I think of it, I'll put all of these in the show notes. But that covers the bases. I mean, those are the really, the big ones. Like I said, GMX is usually the route that I go for all the reasons that I described earlier. If I need just some kind of bullshit email address, there is, and some of my audience is okay with this, some of my audience isn't. If you can get invites for yeah, riseup.net. If you can get invites for riseup.net, look, you're going to go to riseup.net. You're going to go to their website. I have to say this every time. It drives me nuts that I have to say this every time. Yes, they're going to say, if you support capitalism, don't use our services. They're going to wave the red and black flag on you. They are doing more for activists than I can barely think of an organization doing more for activism around the world and for anarchism around the world than riseup.net. Okay? People have some concerns over there was the whole concern of this was about a year, maybe two ago almost, where, their warrant canary, there's a problem, blah, blah, blah. Even though I think that riseup.net was, ended up coming out of that unscathed and fine. There was the FBI raid some years ago. I mean, people can have varying problems with this. I get it. But riseup.net is an option that you may want to look into. That is a very privacy-centric option and very easy to any of these are easy to set up with PGP, really. But that's a route you can go with that. So those are things to look for. Though, again, I'll just say it one more time. The main one I recommend, honestly, is gmx.com. Now, the next question was something I was half tempted to actually cover in this in a full-on show, in a Prime episode. But really, I don't know. To some degree, I don't want to give some of these people like my show as a platform, even if I'm being negative about it. Like I don't really want it to become a platform for a lot of these different ideas. But I had somebody asking me about freesociety.com. Okay. And I'll read a little bit here from freesociety.com. This is the website. We are purchasing, this is directly from their website, we are purchasing sovereignty from a government to create the world's first free society. We are exploring ways for the public and interested parties to participate. Many prominent names in the libertarian world are joining our team. More will be revealed soon. So this is from their FAQ. What's this project about? For many decades, mostly libertarians have been trying to create a new country by various methods that have ranged from unsuccessfully claiming an existing piece of land, Minerva or Liberland, to creating floating structures on the water, seasteading. Unfortunately, none of these attempts have succeeded so far and have encountered substantial resistance from existing governments or were technically or financially too difficult. Our conclusion is that to really gain sovereignty, the most efficient way is to negotiate with an existing government. All right, so hold on. Well, all right, let me keep reading, then I'll talk about that. There are many examples of governments granting another nation's sovereignty over a part of their territory. The more prominent example being Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, which the USA leased as a coaling and naval station in 1903 for $2,000 payable in gold per year. Other more benevolent examples are the current discussions between the Maldives and other nations to sell them a piece of land in an attempt to have a solution for their people once their islands permanently disappear because of rising ocean levels. I want to read up, I do want to read more on this, but I want to address a couple things here quick. Okay, so basically what we have here is we have a group of libertarians / maybe ANCAPs, whatever, that are interested in purchasing land or even renting land from the government, with the purposes of using this land to create libertarian paradise. Okay, like that's the basic gist. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. Also, the idea that you would buy it from the government, it's like, oh, well, you're still dealing with the government. You're dealing with the terrorists. You're paying land taxes, whatever. Okay, as I've said many times on Sovereign Tech over the years, you can get 99% of the way to anarchism. You just might have to pay a land tax somewhere. And that's effectively what's happening here, is that this is 99% of the way there. You're just going to have to pay off the warlord to leave you alone. All right. So I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I get that. I understand that too, because in my opinion, we're never going to have an anarchist planet Earth. It's just never going to fucking happen. Stop. You might as well, go ahead. Whatever that, again, you can get 99% of the way to anarchism. Well, that 1%, you got to pay off the gang there for that, then fine. I'm not saying taxes are legitimate. I'm not saying it's okay. I am absolutely saying, that you're paying off an evil. I understand that. But, let's, I'm not a pragmatist kind of guy at all. I'm just saying that this is at some point you're going to encounter that. And if this is how you want to go about it, well, then fine. And you can say, well, but they shouldn't even bother doing that. Well, then what are you going to do with your house? And, this is the one that kills me. This kills me. Look, and I'm not even saying I'm positive towards this. We're not even done talking about this, okay? Because I have plenty to say. All right. But I love the people who think that, oh, well, I don't pay taxes. I rent an apartment. My landlord pays the taxes. Well, you're giving the landlord your fucking money. You're paying the taxes. Shut up. Stop that. I've literally heard these arguments in New Hampshire where these people think that, oh, I'm not paying for the war machine, as either they, or maybe they say, well, I live out of my car, I live out of my truck, or I live out of this whatever, I live out of this vehicle, and so I don't pay those taxes that go to war. I'm not a part of that. Okay, well, you ever hear of a gas tax? Guess what? It's pretty much fucking everywhere, and you're paying it. When you go to try to turn on the heat in the car, or you drive it somewhere, or whatever. Shut up. You're paying for it. I'm not saying that this is all okay, or that this isn't like an argument of an anarchist giving up and giving in and saying, all right, fine, I'll just pay the gangs or something like that. I'm not saying that at all. Okay, I'm just saying that. Don't you get on your high and mighty horse talking about this while you're sitting in your house, which you absolutely are fucking paying land taxes on. Unless you're being a pauper out in the woods and maybe you're not paying something, out there. But then that's a whole other story. And look, if you're happy out there doing that, then you are happy, and Satan bless you, and have a great time. Okay. My level of happiness, what makes me happy has certain goals within it, or, certain requirements, shall we say, within it. And some of that includes, a house that isn't a shack in the woods. And I try to say that without offense. So anyway, I want to live out in the woods, just not in a shack. There's some creature comforts that I'd care to enjoy. Okay. So now the next part here. So the example that they pick out is from fucking Guantanamo Bay in 1903. Governments don't think this way anymore. So I've argued, and I want to cover more of this, okay? But there's a lot of points to break down here. This is something. Not that this isn't necessarily what I would want to do, or the scale that I would want to do it. Maybe it's more the question of the scale, because on a smaller level, this is exactly what I want to do, to really achieve liberty in my lifetime, okay, or anarchism in my lifetime. The funny thing here is that governments don't think this way anymore. Governments don't have to do this kind of shit anymore, where they sell off plots of land to you or something. If you're thinking back to 1903, I'm very concerned about this, but in modern times, this is something I've recommended. Like I was about to say, I really applaud them for at least being consistent. I've said for years, being on Sovereign Tech or Free Talk Live, whatever, instead of putting these millions of dollars into like these political action, like CPAC, into PACs or whatever, or a super PAC or something, stop. Just stop. You can buy whole cities in like South Dakota. Yeah, I get it. South Dakota, whatever. You could buy whole cities in South Dakota. You could buy cities in California. You could buy huge geographic areas, frankly, in Spain. You could just buy them outright. Now, you may not have like 100% autonomy in these areas, which is the difference here. I think that's what they're going for with this, is they want to have absolute autonomy within it. All right. But you could, especially if you're more of the political type, like, buy that. There's literally cities for sale for like $500,000 in South Dakota. Buy one of these fucking cities. And if you got a few $1,000,000, well, then you can renovate, I don't know, the local utilities or something. I mean, you could really make some impressive shit happen there. But they don't, because it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. Like the whole, libertarians getting involved in politics, it's all crap. It is an absolute waste of money when you could do either what these guys are doing, or you could really go and buy one of those fucking cities, and, you could put whoever the fuck you want in office. Who are they going to tell you? What is the South Dakota state government going to fucking tell you to do, in your little city? What, that you have to put this guy in office? That you have to put this guy in office? No, it would show that then you would have, if that happened, if the state government moved in and said, you have to elect this person, you don't have actual control of all this. I mean, it would be the best PR any libertarian group could ever get, because you could show that it's all a sham, that you don't actually have control. Even when you buy the entire city, you don't get to put the people in place that you want to. You don't get to do any of that. And that there is no such thing as a democratic process. Voting doesn't matter. I mean, you would have the best PR opportunity in fucking history, but they never do that because it's crap. It's just about lining the coffers of some dumbass elitist libertarians. It has nothing to do with actual freedom. Because if they did, just go buy the goddamn city. Or do what these people are doing at freesociety.com. Mind-boggling to me. Every single fucking political libertarian is so full of shit. If they get anything remotely like $1 million, they, to fund whatever the hell they're doing, and it happens, Rod Paul, whoever, okay, there are so many other things they could do than try to deal with fucking Leviathan in Washington. There are so many practical things and far more intriguing and interesting, and things where everybody could get involved that has nothing to do with voting and would do with business and things like this. And yeah, I mean, even like with the Free State Project, sure, like that'd be great. Let's buy up one of these cities in the fucking U.S. or hell in Spain, or and do the business. Sure, I'm open to that critique, even of the Free State Project. But whatever. Let's read on here. So again, I'm not saying that really, the question that was asked to me is, what do you think about this? Look, I don't think it's a terrible idea in the abstract. I really don't. And in fact, this is something I've been telling libertarians to do for a long, long time when they've had the money, to say nothing about it dealing with Bitcoin. We'll talk about that in a second. So let's read on the next thing. Which government are you negotiating with? This is from their FAQ. We have started up preliminary talks with governments, and interest is much higher than initially expected. For confidentiality reasons, we are unable to disclose any names at this point, but we will do so as soon as we are allowed. So Stallion breaking in, I wouldn't be shocked if Spain was on this list. Just because, like I said, again, you can buy entire cities for just a few $100,000. I mean, it's insane. And sure, they're older cities. Fine. Use the other millions you got to renovate the goddamn shit. This isn't hard. I understand the expenses that go into building up a city, but a lot of this, could really, really be handled. And if you start bringing in jobs in your little libertarian paradise, oh yeah, governments would play ball with a little bit of experiment, I think, and especially if they could get some kind of a cut out of it, which is effectively what's being kind of brokered here, I think. Anyway, let's read on. So, what are your selection criteria? Proximity to existing economic powerhouses, U.S., Europe, or Asia. Accessibility by water. So that doesn't necessarily close off Spain, but that explains why you're not going for South Dakota. Located in a safe, conflict-free area. Well, Spain would be in trouble right now. Stable existing government. Nations with a significant national debt. So again, that's them admitting, well, maybe this could actually help out the country. A flexible constitution that allows granting sovereignty. An acceptable minimum size for the land. What will be the rule of law? Continuing on with the fact. We plan to establish a rule of law based on libertarian principles and free markets. We don't see the need to recreate traditional government structures. The rule of law / constitution can be included in the final agreement of the land sale, and we will be an extension and will be an extension of the existing contract that will be put in place with the government that granted us the sovereignty. Enforcement will happen through private arbitration, competing court systems, and private law enforcement. It is important to establish a proper rule of law, as our project will set an example for the industry and create an important precedent with governments around the world. We want to make sure the Constitution is solid, but avoid the inefficiencies of existing government structures. So here's where some of the problems start to come in, right? Because then, again, like in one sense, I applaud this. In the other, it's like, all right, well, let's be clear here that this is a minarchist paradise. This isn't an anarchist paradise. And competing, private law enforcement and all this. I mean, this is setting off so many red flags in my mind where, I don't know how well this is really going to work out for them. But whatever. I'm not necessarily opposed to them trying with this sort of thing. But effective, I mean, and they're not really saying how big it's going to be, but it sounds like they want to get some degree of industry. So probably a population in the six digits wouldn't be outlandish. But I think you're going to, but that's part of the reason why I think eventually you're going to run into trouble, even with shall we say, free market solutions like private, one could argue whether or not these are free market solutions, but like competing court systems and private law enforcement, things like this, I think you're going to run into, kind of Hatfield-McCoy situations. Okay. Where when you're dealing with this many people getting involved. Now, that doesn't mean this sort of thing can't exist. Et cetera, et cetera. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, they want to get away from the inefficiencies of what government offers. And yep, there's something to be said for competition, for creating industries or creating organizations that have to compete with similar organizations, allowing for that freedom, competing court systems, competing private law enforcement and all this. But there's something to keep in mind, and that a lot of ANCAPs, I think, don't want to admit, but at the end of the day, I think it's a reality, is that, real efficiency, say like with insurance companies, which I'm sure would be a major part of this free society that's being laid out here. Insurance companies can't be really efficient. They can't be 100%. And here's the thing. Okay, so a business can be so efficient, can become so maybe even automated or whatever. They can become so efficient that they could, I don't know what the term I want to use here is. They could efficient size themselves out of business. Okay. That's the point, is that like insurance companies, say car insurance companies or something. And this has been brought up on actually past episodes of Sovereign Tech. They could come up with the most efficient technologies and whatever else to stop car accidents maybe from happening in their entirety, or they could automate so much of their process, whatever. They could do so many things that they could effectively, they could take themselves right out of business, because suddenly, holy shit, everything is just so goddamn safe. That could really happen. Okay. So keep that in mind, that businesses, competition does have its limits. And I think sooner or later, a lot of businesses and industries find out that competition could, really is effectively a race to the bottom, and nobody wants to actually get to the bottom. So you're not going to have this isn't going to be a perfect world situation. But they're being careful in their language. There's not too much, utopian horseshit going on here. So anyway, if you disagree with any of that, please feel free to message me and email me, and we can go over it. Maybe at some point I could have somebody on the show to even kind of debate some of those points if they really wanted to. Now, after all of that is said and done, let's talk about the team. And kudos to them for having the guts to highlight who is actually on their team here for this this libertarian paradise. One is, I keep forgetting how to pronounce his first name, Oliver Janssens, who I'm not a fan, but I appreciate this guy. This is a guy that has been really crucial in keeping Bitcoin honest over the years. I have read some of his write-ups and talked about his work on sovereign tech, particularly a few years ago when I would talk about cryptocurrencies a lot more than I care to now, because now, the cryptocurrency space is largely all scams. Not all scams. There's some legit ones, even some legit new ones. Think, of course, Zcash, Zencash, Monero's legit. There's quite a few of these. Obviously, Bitcoin, Litecoin. I mean, these are legit technologies. Ethereum's not, but the rest that I listed off, are fairly legit. So we have Oliver Janssens, who he's the founding father, CEO of this whole thing. Obviously, it's going to be run like a corporation because that's the great libertarian dream. And then there's Roger Ver, which I leave that to you, how you feel about that. There is quite the split, I think, in the Bitcoin community and in the libertarian community on how they feel about Roger Ver. I will leave that one to you. A guy I don't know, Stefan Claes, not sure who that is. Actually, I don't really know any of these other names. I don't know Chris Wagner. I don't know Daniel Kellman, and I don't know Johann Schott, I believe is his name. I don't know who those people are. And whatever, that's fine. So, but this is the team involved. Obviously, at least two of these people, that being Oliver and Roger, have done phenomenally well with Bitcoin. I mean, they're obviously the ones that are going to be doing the buying, and they have the ability to fund, or I assume they're the ones that have the main ability. I mean, maybe these other guys do, to fund this entire project. How you feel about that? How you feel about these individuals? I mean, that's something that, again, I'm going to leave to you for you to think about. I don't know. I mean, I get it. I understand it. Go ahead, rock and roll. They can have a great time. This is not my idea of, like, if I were just to describe, Brian, what Stallion, what lifestyle, what would make you the most happy? Like, what would that look like to you? It wouldn't be this. It really wouldn't. And barring like going to outer space, like let's say on Earth, and not going into the oceans either, even though seasteading and really underwater colonies, I think are totally valid things, and particularly the underwater colonies are going to be like that. That's something else that's going to be happening in the near future, in my opinion. We're going total sequest, and I mean, I really think that's happening. But anyway, barring those, not saying let's say that those aren't happening anytime soon. Very simply, really find a place in the woods. Yep. Going to be paying some kind of land taxes, probably be in the U.S. Okay. And, maybe 2-3, I don't know, there could be 2-3 houses, whatever in the area. I mean, it doesn't even have to be in the woods. If there might be advantages to certain other areas that are a little more residential, but anyway, find a place like that is nearby some kind of, area that maybe has like, I don't know, whatever grocery stores that you happen to appreciate. I don't know if it has Target or Walmart, whatever, some kind of, brick and mortar, action, at least somewhat nearby. Have that, and then just have, anywhere from like, hell, it could be 2-3 people to 10 people. I don't know. Maybe even that would be too much. Maybe 5-6, something like that. And just spend our lives. I mean, and the advantage of being out in the woods is that, you could do things without the neighbors seeing, and just spend our lives, just living it up, and pay those little bit of taxes that need to be paid, but do everything else with crypto and everything. And yeah, you're kind of, remora to the state shark of all these brick and mortar stores and whatever's going around in the area. But you do, I mean, and this is, like Hakeem Bey's work of temporary autonomous zones, or in this case, permanent autonomous zones. I mean, maybe if technologies like solar technologies and 3D printing and some of these other things get to a point where you could have a lot more self-sufficiency and all that. Great. I'm not necessarily going to bank on that, but if you can just have like the emotional freedom, the emotional connections, and some of the lifestyle freedom, I think with the internet, a lot of entrepreneurial freedom it's already anarchy. It's already there to be had in so many ways. So having a lot of fluidity and change and a variety in your work and a lot of options when it comes to your work, I don't necessarily think that that's a problem. I mean, I'm sure there's people who are listening. Yeah, but I can't do an ICO now because of the SEC. Don't fucking do an ICO. Like, who the hell even said that was a good idea? So yeah, I think there's already a lot of entrepreneurial freedom, that you can have. And you can get into other stuff like, get a second passport that way you can run away if you want. But then, then you're doing more of a temporary autonomous zone. But yeah, that's the basic gist, is just have a place where, people, friends, lovers, whatever, could live together. And you have a great time, and you interact with everyday people, because that's how it's just going to kind of always be. It's not like you become insular or anything, but when you're living at the house, whatever, you can express yourselves in the ways that you want, that maybe society would judge you. Frankly, I would love just the ability to walk outside of my house naked, and not have anybody say any shit, and have it not be a problem. I know that might sound stupid to some people, but really it's something that I want. Those are some of the freedoms I care to express, quite frankly. Again, you might think that that's really low on the totem pole, but there you go. So yeah, it doesn't require what's being, and look, also to do entrepreneurial efforts, on the internet and everything. Well, why don't you just be a part of society? Because without society, you can't actually, you won't be able to do the business on the internet and all that stuff. No. That's a crap argument, to say that sort of thing. Because that's like, well, go fucking yell at Apple. Go yell at all these companies that deal with the Chinese government and that play ball with the Chinese government. If you're gonna, kind of start going down that road, a lot of these arguments just don't hold up. Once you just change the names and examples a little bit, suddenly you find out, oh, wait a minute, what these people are saying is crap. So yeah, this is just, I don't have a problem with them doing this necessarily, but it's not at a scale that excites me. I like the idea of a much smaller scale, when it comes to this. But I'll keep an eye on it. We'll see what happens. But again, and I don't know that I necessarily like trust everybody involved with this on being, that top drawer. And that's really where the hard part comes in. Why doesn't this scale excite me? Because I don't know how many people you could count that I think are really ready for anything remotely like libertarian paradise, let alone anarchist paradise. Like, that can really, handle that, and that have the levels of self-responsibility, self-control, all kinds of things, that can make that happen. So yeah, I'm concerned. I don't know how this is going to work. And there's a part of me that's almost worried that, like private law enforcement, a lot of this other stuff end up just going to be like, it could literally be, and people are going to think I sound nuts when I say this, but I'm not kidding. It could literally be blockchain controlled drones. This is a dream that some ANCAPs have. That was one of the dreams of Ethereum, is that, well, how do you enforce this stuff? Well, Vitalik's made it very clear. And I don't think he was kidding, because I don't know that he knows how to crack a joke. He very clearly said, we could just control drones by blockchain, and, that could handle everything. Oh, yeah, what a great fucking idea. Yeah, no thanks. Drones with weapons on them, I don't even necessarily think have a place in anything remotely like a free society, but that's another conversation for another time. So anyway, bottom line is that this doesn't exactly excite me, but go ahead and really, to some degree, credit to them for doing what every single libertarian or libertarian-ish a political group should have been doing with all the millions of dollars that they made either off of Ron Paul, Rand Paul, whoever the fuck that they were doing, whatever super PAC that they were running. You know who they are, and they're some of the biggest names that claim they don't play in politics, but then they're running, PACs, political action committees and whatever else. Okay. Or coalitions, whatever PAC stands for. I mean, so to some degree, like I said, I kind of applaud them, but then at the other end, it's not something that excites me. It's just not something that really gets me going. I have different ideas of, I mean, and that's the part of why, I mean, this is why central planning doesn't work, because every individual has a different idea of, what their little bit of paradise looks like. So you can't plan that out, and the market doesn't have to plan it out. That's the beauty of the market, is it just kind of figures it out. Yeah, but it remains to be seen just how free this free market's going to be. I mean, what restrictions are actually going to be put. I mean, there could still be, even though they're claiming they can buy sovereignty, there's a chance that, well, I mean, look at Spain and Catalonia. I mean, bottom line, there's a chance that the host government, shall we say, which is the, whatever the federal government in the area that they buy, buy the sovereignty of that land for, that, they might have various caveats and strings and things that interfere with it being a truly free market. So, yeah, I mean, like that's not something I would want to go around guaranteeing. And I'm not saying that they are. I'm just saying, let's be clear here that this might not actually be that. We really don't know until we see it. But yeah, go ahead, give it a try. Whatever. Have a great time. I mean, I'm not even going down the fact that literally, everybody on their team, it's a bunch of white guys. Not even going there. I said it, but I'm not going to go there. Because this is the thing. Like, all right, I'll go there a little bit. This is the thing. Freedom is about a lot more than just economic freedom. Not everything is economics. It just isn't. I mean, and if you think everything is economics, no wonder you're not getting laid. Because you're just telling this woman in front of you, oh, well, come on, this is an economic transaction. I bought you dinner. That means that, we need to do this should be free market exchange. So you're going to give me the pussy. I mean, like, don't, there are people out there that talk that way. There are fucking ANCAPs that say that shit. Yes, they do. Not everything's economics. There are freedoms that need to be explored and expressed. You could say that the free market gives you the best opportunity for that. Maybe. But where is your evidence for that? Oh, you don't have one because we've never had a free market. You don't have that evidence, do you? So that's my point, is that when you get to a certain scale, I mean, like, it's very tough to assure. And this is why I say the Earth's never going to be like this anarchist paradise or anything. It's very tough to know that everybody's going to kind of be on board with this, or that, that they're going to be on board with your ideals and reality, and all that. And look, there's no such thing as a perfect world. I'm not saying that there's going to be a perfect world. I'm just saying that for, in smaller groups, you can achieve, I think, the bulk of your desires and, that little anarchist paradise. But when you start scaling up pretty crazy, to much higher numbers, I think you end up running into some very real problems. And I think that, I'm just kind of guessing here, that a lot of social issues probably aren't being considered at all for this little libertarian paradise. So for me, that doesn't necessarily make it the ultimate, that doesn't make it the free society. But if they just want to practice economic freedoms, fine. Just make it clear that that's what it's about. And, that way people that look into living, say, in free society, in the free society, freesociety.com that they're talking about, they can know not to expect, like the addressing of genuine social issues that need to be addressed in the human condition and society at large, I think. But hey, whatever. So give it a crack. Go for it. Okay, so I think that's about as far as I'm going to go with this week's episode. Again, you're going to get another episode tomorrow that is all about. It's going to be all about the Monage conference that I went to, and we'll deep dive into a lot of that. But anyway, got some really, really cool content coming out over the next few days that I'm actually really excited to talk about. And at some point, I'll get to the review of Voltron Season 4. We'll say right now, though, it was fucking awesome. because that just hit. Was it last week that it finally dropped? And there's a whole bunch of other stuff that has come out recently. So anyway, that's it for this episode. Woo! Of course, new Sex and Science Hour will be out. Dynamite Sovereign Tech lined up. We've got we're going to be talking Amazon, Patreon, all kinds of things. I will see you on the other side.